He slowed his pace as he came closer, not out of hesitation, but intention. The homeless man noticed it instantly, the change in rhythm, the way this stranger didn't look away. For a brief second, their eyes met, and something unusual happened. The man in the suit didn't rush past. He stopped. People nearby noticed too. A woman walking her dog glanced back. A group of office workers slowed their steps. Moments like this were rare, and everyone seemed to sense it. The homeless man lowered his gaze, already preparing himself for rejection. Experience had taught him not to expect much. "Sir," he said softly, his voice rough from the cold, "could you spare $1?" The man didn't answer right away. Instead, he studied the cardboard sign, the cracked hands holding it, the face shaped by years of hardship. Then he did something no one expected, he smiled. Not a polite smile. A real one. "What's your name?" he asked. The homeless man looked up, confused. "Daniel," he replied after a pause. "Well, Daniel," the man said, "I'm Marcus." He glanced around, then gestured toward the sidewalk. "Mind if I sit with you for a minute?" A hush fell over the small area. Marcus sat down on the cold pavement, his suit touching the same ground everyone else had avoided. Daniel didn't know what to say. No one had done this before. Not once. Marcus asked simple questions: how long Daniel had been there, whether he'd eaten, where he slept at night. And Daniel answered honestly. There was no drama in his voice, just quiet truth. He spoke about losing his job, then his apartment, and finally the friends who slowly stopped answering his calls. Each word felt lighter once spoken aloud. As they talked, people gathered at a distance, pretending not to stare but unable to look away. This wasn't charity for show. There were no cameras, no speeches. Just two men talking like equals. Marcus listened carefully, nodding, absorbing every word. When Daniel finished, Marcus stood up slowly. He reached into his pocket, not just for money, but for something more meaningful. "You asked for $1, Marcus said gently. "But what you really needed was someone to stop." He placed money into Daniel's hand, enough to get through the day, then added, "Don't lose hope. This isn't the end of your story." And as Marcus walked away, the crowd stood frozen, speechless, not because of what was given, but because of how it was given. Marcus settled beside him without hesitation, the sharp crease of his suit pressing against the rough pavement. Daniel noticed that first, the fact that this man didn't seem worried about getting his clothes dirty. That alone felt unreal. For years, people had treated the ground around Daniel like it was contagious, as if stopping for even a second might pull them into his reality. A light breeze passed between the tall buildings, carrying the sounds of the city, car engines, distant sirens, muffled conversations. Yet in that small space, everything felt quieter. Focused. Marcus folded his hands calmly and looked at Daniel with genuine interest. "How long have you been out here?" Marcus asked. Daniel hesitated. Most people didn't really want the answer. "Almost 2 years," he said finally. "Started with a layoff. Then the rent piled up. After that, everything else followed." Marcus nodded slowly, not interrupting. That silence, respectful, patient, encouraged Daniel to keep going. He talked about nights spent counting coins just to buy coffee, about winter mornings when his hands felt too numb to hold the sign, about how the worst part wasn't hunger, but being invisible. As Daniel spoke, a small crowd began to form. A man paused mid-call. A couple stood pretending to check directions. No one said a word. They were witnessing something rare, not a dramatic rescue, but a quiet moment of dignity. Marcus finally spoke. "People think success is about money," he said. "But it's really about being seen and being heard." He reached into his pocket, then stopped. "Before anything else," he said, "I want you to know this: you matter. Not because of where you are, but because of who you are. Daniel felt his throat tighten. He looked down, blinking fast, embarrassed by the sudden wave of emotion. It had been years since anyone spoke to him like that. Not with pity. Not with judgment. Just honesty. Marcus then stood, brushing off his suit. He placed some cash into Daniel's hand, not rushed, not tossed, but placed carefully. "This is for today," he said. "Food. Warmth." Then he handed Daniel a small card. "This is for tomorrow. If you want to try something different, come see me." As Marcus walked away, Daniel stared at the card, his hands trembling, not from the cold this time, but from possibility. Around him, the crowd slowly dispersed, each person carrying the weight of what they had just seen. And Daniel knew, deep down, that this moment, this simple act, had already changed something forever. The words hung in the air, heavy and unexpected. Daniel stared at Marcus, trying to process what he had just heard. A chance. It wasn't something he had been offered in a very long time. Money was familiar, coins dropped into a cup, bills handed over quickly, always followed by people rushing away. But this was different. This felt real. Daniel looked down at the business card, turning it over in his hands as if it might disappear. The card was clean, professional, with an address and a name printed clearly. Proof that this moment wasn't imagined. Proof that someone was serious. Around them, the small crowd had gone quiet. No one was checking their phones anymore. No one was pretending not to look. They had expected a simple exchange, a dollar given or refused, but instead, they were witnessing something deeper. A reminder that dignity could be restored in the smallest moments. Marcus didn't rush Daniel. He waited. Then he said, "I can't change your past. And I won't pretend it'll be easy. But if you show up, I'll meet you halfway." Daniel swallowed hard. His voice was low when he spoke. "Why?" he asked. "Why me?" Marcus smiled, not like a man with all the answers, but like someone who had once needed help himself. "Because someone once did the same for me," he replied. "And it changed everything." Marcus then reached into his wallet again and handed Daniel the cash, carefully, respectfully. "Get something warm to eat. Take care of yourself tonight. Tomorrow matters." As Marcus stepped back, Daniel stood a little straighter. His shoulders, usually heavy with defeat, felt lighter. For the first time in years, tomorrow wasn't something to fear, it was something to prepare for. When Marcus finally turned and walked away, the silence broke slowly. People exchanged glances, some shaken, some thoughtful. A few quietly dropped money near Daniel, not out of guilt, but inspiration. Daniel remained standing there long after Marcus disappeared into the crowd, holding the card like it was a key. Because in that brief moment, on a cold city street, a man hadn't just been given help, he had been given hope. And hope, Daniel realized, was worth more than any dollar. Daniel's first day was simple, almost quiet. He was given basic tasks, organizing files, cleaning the workspace, helping where he could. No one treated him like a charity case. No one asked uncomfortable questions. Marcus introduced him as a new team member, nothing more, nothing less. That alone made Daniel feel human again. Each morning, Daniel arrived a little earlier than expected, nervous but determined. He watched how others worked, how they spoke, how they carried themselves with purpose. Slowly, he began to mirror that confidence. Clean clothes replaced the worn jacket. A regular schedule replaced long, uncertain nights. With structure came stability, and with stability came hope. Marcus checked in often, not to control, but to encourage. When Daniel made mistakes, Marcus corrected him calmly, reminding him that growth came from learning, not perfection. Those words stayed with Daniel. For the first time in years, failure didn't feel like the end, it felt like part of the process. Outside the office walls, the video continued to spread. Strangers commented about how rare it was to see someone sit down instead of look down. Teachers shared it with students. Parents shared it with children. The clip sparked conversations about empathy, about how easily people are dismissed, and how powerful simple respect can be. But Marcus never sought attention. When reporters reached out, he declined most interviews. "This isn't about me," he said. "It's about what happens when we choose humanity over hurry." Months later, Daniel no longer stood at street corners. He had saved enough for a small room and was working towards something bigger. He still carried the business card in his wallet, not because he needed it, but because it reminded him of where everything changed. One evening, as Daniel locked up the office, he paused and looked back at the building. It wasn't just a workplace. It was proof. Proof that one moment of kindness could rewrite a future. Marcus's words echoed again in Daniel's mind, "Dignity feeds the soul." And Daniel understood now, what truly lifted him wasn't the job or the money. It was the fact that someone had looked at him and seen possibility. This story isn't about money. It's about perspective. The homeless man didn't just ask for $1, he asked to be seen. And the response he received reminded everyone watching that kindness doesn't always come wrapped in cash. Sometimes it comes wrapped in time, attention, and respect. Marcus didn't see a problem to avoid. He saw a human being. And that single decision changed a life, and inspired thousands more who heard the story. So the next time you see someone asking for help, remember this moment. You don't have to change the world. Sometimes, all it takes is stopping, listening, and treating someone like they matter. Because you never know, your response might just leave everyone speechless. If this video made you think, don't forget to like it, it really helps the channel. Subscribe for more powerful stories and comment below what you think about this topic. Your support keeps this journey going. This is Truth Beyond Limits. See you in the next one.